So again, welcome everyone to our virtual event. Again, many thanks to the committee and to everyone, our guests in attendance, and of course, all of our fabulous members. And those of you who are not members, please wait till the end of the presentation and make sure that you join us. We are an incredibly dynamic group of educators, leaders, who are looking at the big picture of education on a global scale for children with special needs. So today we're doing a fabulous event called Dynamic International Educators Shared Forum on Inclusive Practices in Africa, Europe, and the Caribbean.
So we'll be going through a brief welcome. We'll have each one of our panelists present, and then we've got time for breakout groups where you can speak more personally to the different presenters, panelists, and talk about different things that are going on and ways that you support students and also support teachers around the world. And then we'll share out with our group and we'll talk about what's next in DISES. Clara?
Absolutely. So again, welcome to DISES. And I already shared that we are a group of very passionate people who are looking at the bigger picture of education and special education, special needs education on a global scale. We are a division of the Council for Exceptional Children. And this is our basic overall mission statement, basic vision statement, and looking at how we can promote exchange, collaboration, human rights, and advocacy for those who provide services for children and individuals with disabilities. So we're delighted again to have you here and enjoying in this rich conversation today.
Thank you. And is Sasha here? I don't see her name listed, but maybe you're under a different name. All right. Well, so one of the areas that we have been trying to do this year with the virtual events is to really look at it through the lens of the UNESCO 2020 UNESCO REDS report. She wrote a beautiful brief that we have up on the DISES website, and we will share the link to that in a bit or at the end. But we wanted to really think about, think about how the different countries are, dealing with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then also highlight some of the wonderful things that are happening. Each one of our speakers actually presented at the June 2020 DISES Leadership Conference in Colorado, and it was very exciting to have them there. So they are here again today to share their presentations and ask questions and continue this conversation. So just overall, a brief about the brief that she wrote. There are 11 countries that were included in this report. And it really focused on the impact of educational disruptions on teaching and learning during the global pandemic. Across the 11 countries, over 50% of the educators reported that students did not progress at the rate that they would have expected in a typical school year. All of the countries, across all of the countries, a large percentage of the students reported not feeling prepared for another significant disruption to education in the future. And 5 out of the 11 countries reported varying lengths of time in which no teacher or learning occurred during the disruption. And while students and educators reported a decline in emotional well-being, educators actually reported feeling supported by school leadership, which is a positive of this. And you'll hear more about this report from Aleksandra. But we're going to start out our event today with Dr. Argnue Chitiyo. And he is an assistant professor of applied behavior analysis at Ball State University in Indiana. His research interests focus on evidence-based practices for students with emotional disorders and autism. And he also does research on special education development in sub-Saharan Africa. He has taught in K-12 schools back in Zimbabwe. And he's passionate about policy changes that address special education, teacher professional development needs to better serve students with disabilities. So I will now hand it off to Argnue.
Thank you so much, Rebekka. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Rebekka, for introducing me and for inviting me to be part of this panel. As you have heard, my name is Argnue Chitiyo. I am an assistant professor of applied behavior analysis at Ball State University. Prior to coming to the USA to pursue my PhD in special education, I used to teach back in Zimbabwe. I have taught K through 12 schools, elementary school and high school. And one of the most difficult challenges that I faced in my teaching profession actually pertained to managing student behavior. And I know a lot of teachers back in Zimbabwe and a lot of sub-Saharan countries do not have much experience on research-based behavior management practices. So as part of our efforts to try and actually do something about it, myself and my cousin and a few other guys in the Southern African countries that we are focusing on, we are actually trying to look at teacher training institutions to see the extent at which they prepare teachers in those countries on how to properly manage challenging behavior in classes. And so Melinda Chitiyo is my cousin. He is the lead investigator in this particular project. And yeah, so that's basically it. The project that we're currently working on is entirely focused on teacher training institutions and the extent to which they train teachers on evidence-based behavior management practices. So like I have indicated, during my 8 years of teaching experience in Zimbabwe, one of the most difficult challenges that I faced pertained to managing challenging behavior. And one of the things that I did not understand was what exactly was the cause for challenging behavior. I did not have thorough training in behavior management when I was in college, which made it extremely difficult for me to really manage challenging behavior in classes. And I know that a lot of teachers in a lot of these African countries do not have, the proper training that they need in order to manage challenging behaviors. And the one thing that is particularly important to me is the fact that a lot of teachers in African countries do not have sufficient understanding of what challenging behavior is and its causes. And also the fact that sometimes students with disabilities can engage in challenging behaviors as a means or as a way of trying to communicate their needs, which sometimes can make it particularly difficult for teachers to really try to do something about the behaviors. So on this particular slide, we just defined challenging behavior as any repeated pattern of behavior that interferes with or is at risk of interfering with the child's optimal learning or engagement in pro-social interactions with peers and adults. And those are just a few examples of the challenging behaviors. And like I've indicated, challenging behavior is extremely difficult for teachers because it can cause a whole lot of problems. Like, for instance, it takes away a lot of time that could otherwise be devoted to learning in order to try to do something about challenging behaviors. The other thing is challenging behaviors can cause, teacher burnout. I remember when I was teaching back in Zimbabwe, I was extremely frustrated by the existence of challenging behaviors, which made it a lot more difficult for me to actually go through, my teaching process. And so one of the things that you might want to note is that special education practice and inclusive education in Zimbabwe is not as developed as it is in the USA. You can move on to the next slide. So, you know, a lot of African countries are actually still trying to develop their special education and inclusive education systems, which at this moment basically means that a lot of students with disabilities are underserved. You know, in a lot of these countries, students with disabilities are included in mainstream classes, which unfortunately are not designed, or they are not properly designed to really address, you know, the special needs of you know, students with disabilities. And so, you know, the other challenge too with a lot of schools in African countries is limited access to assessment and screening tools, you know, which basically entails, or which basically means that a lot of teachers in these schools do not really understand what could be the causes of behavior. For the most part, they will not understand that disability can be one of the major contributing factors to challenging behavior. And so, you know, as I have indicated, you know, typically students with disabilities can engage in challenging behaviors as, you know, as a way of trying to communicate their needs. And in most cases, teachers that do not have thorough training in understanding behavior may be, you know, may face difficulties in really trying to understand, you know, what could be the underlying causes of you know, challenging behaviors. There are several reasons why students with disabilities can, you know, engage in behaviors. As I have mentioned, one of the factors could be they are trying to communicate their needs. And so one of the things that I remember I used to do back in Zimbabwe, whenever I was confronted with challenging behaviors, I would resort to, you know, punishment-based strategies as a way of dealing with the challenging behavior. But the unfortunate part with, you know, punitive measures is that these methods do not really address, you know, the underlying causes of, you know, challenging behavior. And in most cases, they simply extinguish challenging behaviors without really addressing, you know, the underlying causes, or without replacing, you know, challenging behaviors with, you know, socially appropriate or acceptable behaviors. And so one of the things that teachers ought to understand is there are evidence-based behavior management practices that you know, are meant to help teachers to really understand what are the functions of you know, challenging behaviors. I'm an applied behavior analyst. When I first came to the USA, that's when I started getting a lot of understanding about you know, ecological factors associated with challenging behaviors. But unfortunately, a lot of teachers in you know, African countries that do not have sufficient training in this, they don't understand that behavior is a function of an environmental factors, you know, antecedents and consequences that help to shape behavior over time. And so one of the things that we ought to train teachers about is, you know, research-based or evidence-based behavior management practices. I'm assuming a lot of us, we know what these are. You know, evidence-based behavior management practices are, you know, basically strategies that are rooted in scientific evidence, that are person-centered and are meant to improve a student's social, emotional, and academic functioning. You may move to the next slide. And so part of the project that we are currently working on right now, as I've mentioned earlier, we are trying to assess or to analyze the extent to which teacher training institutions do provide the necessary training in evidence-based behavior management practices. And so as part of this, we did a document analysis for a lot of documents for teacher training institutions in 8 African countries that include Ghana, Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, Nigeria, South Africa, Togo, and Zimbabwe. And as part of this process, we actually gathered syllabus, course catalogs, programs catalogs from about 17 teacher training institutions, if I'm correct. And so we were basically trying to see and to analyze those documents to see the extent to which courses in these teacher training institutions address evidence-based behavior management practices. And so we are still in the process of gathering the data and analyzing some of the data, but the preliminary indications of the data show that out of about 17 teacher training programs in about 11 universities, they do not mention anything about evidence-based behavior management practices. And this is a challenge because, this basically entails that a lot of the teachers that are graduating from college do not have the sufficient training that they need in, evidence-based behavior management practices. And so, we are actually in the process of, trying to do something about it. We think our future plan is actually to, to collaborate with teacher training institutions in these 8 countries to see if we can help facilitate or help, build, courses that address evidence-based behavior management practices, so as to equip, pre-service teachers with those requisite skills before they go into practice. So you can move on to the next slide, please. So yeah, this is just a summary of the research that we are currently conducting. As I've said, we were able to identify 11 teacher training institutions in those 8 countries. We did document analysis, and out of the 17 programs in those teacher training institutions, only 3 programs offered at least a single course that addressed behavior or classroom management. And so, in the future, we're actually hoping that we can, try to either train in-service teachers on evidence-based behavior management practices or collaborate with teacher training institutions in those universities in order to help develop courses that address, evidence-based behavior management practices. So thank you so much, Rebekka. I give back this time to you.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to hear from Dr. Alexandra Ristick, and she has a Master's of Theology and a Doctorate of Science in Special Education. She is currently a special education teacher in Slovenia. She believes in empowering all in need to impact the world. She's volunteered thousands of hours working with persons with disabilities and connecting research to practice to find solutions for children with special needs. And she actually worked on the UNESCO REDS report. So we're really excited to have her here today.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your introduction. My name is Aleksandra. I came from Slovenia, and I'm going to introduce you my research. So coronavirus disease and all COVID situation, e-learning, distance, it was something new for our country. Actually, 2004, it was in Slovenia registered permitted e-learning. So it's some kind of new for our country. Go on. Throughout the school closures, governments have adopted various measures to ensure learning continually. In some cases, this has meant working with infrastructure constraints, such as lack of connectivity of devices, internet. Also, educators, as myself, have also been impacted by the crisis professionally and personally, as has said Chitiyo before in his research. Nowadays, we can move forward just with designing context-sensitive resilient strategies, which include the voices of educators and especially pupils. So, teaching in classroom, forward to teaching online, e-learning. Let me see on the next one. So we have to know about digital skills and digital competence. The difference, all of us have digital skills, but the digital competence we have to teach, we have to learn how to use it in practice. I made the research to look at the beginning, the history. In Europe, in 2003, it was made e-learning index. So it indicates countries' ability to produce, use, and expand internet-based learning. And it's built up from scores for education, industry, government, and society. And it measures 4 things: connectivity, capability, contact, and culture. It was very interesting. So we have here 2 graphs. On the first one is the EU index, and the second one you can see worldwide. It's very interesting that the first graph, there is situation in Europe. So the small countries like Slovenia, Slovakia, and also Hungary, they are in the Central Eastern Europe, but they are challenging of modernization and building of the information society because they are really new. Their official languages are not typically spoken beyond their borders. Therefore, the costs of creating a learning system content in their national languages is very high. So on the second graph on the right, you can see worldwide where we are. We are on the bottom. And if you look at the first 3 countries, Sweden, Canada, US. So e-learning in the past in 2003. So at that time, all began. 2017, we can see that in America, 33%, Europe 8%, and Slovenia 0.2% of e-learning, distance learning. So for us, 2 years before COVID situation, it was totally something new for us. So we had no time to prepare when COVID situation started in our country. We have to look 3 very important declarations. So Rome Declaration 2017, the same year in Göteborg, and a year after, also the one which expressed that e-learning has to be inclusive, lifelong learning, innovative with new learning tools, that online teaching has to collaborate, it has to be personal, also the educator has to motivate students, but we are going to see later what happened. So 1 year later, we are now 1 year to COVID. It was in research, AVI, shown that 23% of teachers have, just 23 of them has digital technology knowledge. 87% of students have basic digital skills, and 70% students after primary and secondary school need to develop their skills. And this research also presents two vulnerable groups. The first one is people with disabilities, and the second one are women, so girls, has no ICT skills. So there at that time was made EU Digital Education Action Plan, and then they have said that e-learning has to have three things: e-twinning, selfie, and e-REDS. Later on, when the COVID situation was worldwide, me as educator with children with disabilities, I figured out that we haven't been supported with strategies, with tools, also with technical equipment. So later on, when the situation came back to normal, I said, okay, we are back to school, but we have to look ourselves into the mirror and to make a review if something similar happen in the future, that we can empower ourselves firstly, because through us go the knowledge to the students. So with quantitative research paradigm and with theoretical review, I wanted to see teachers' availability, how was with family support, what about the conference learning, if it was successful for the children, if they had time for themselves, what about the teachers' feedback, what about the sources they got, if it was successful for them, how did they participate in the classes, and how they saw the motivation from teacher side, and also communication, how they communicated with teachers. So our analysis, primary school, 86 children, boys, girls, the age gap 13-14. The whole research was done last year in spring. Data collection, also the analyze. So children has said that their satisfaction, when they were at home, most of them felt home safer than before. They had more time for free time for activities. They said that their organization was improved at home, was better than in classes. They also had that they received higher grades than if they would be in the classrooms. 33% has said that teacher communication also was by personal teacher mobile phone. They have said that they got short video instructions, just video instructions, and that they would like to have that materials would be more online ability, and most of them, I was surprised, they said that God needed teacher support. But later on, we are going to see that, Zoom lessons was ineffective for them. The videos were too short, just instructions. Children has said that there was almost no individual consultations with teachers, and also more of the children has said that they were unempowered with digital technology. That means, okay, here you have the computer, here you have all ICT technology. Now you have to be at that time at the class when the lesson began. But yeah, just 10% of children got distance learning. The other children received all things for the lesson by email. And 50% of them has said that they didn't got the teacher's feedback they needed at that time. So also the children has said that it was very stressful for them. They didn't have quiet space. They didn't have internet access, also computers. They had their lessons on their mobile phones. At the time of the lessons, they had to took care of their family members. Some of them have said that the tasks were boring, and also that they suggest that a standard timetable. First class is math, second time is Slovene. Okay, it can be in the classroom, but the standard timetable online can make it differently. That also 60% of the session they were in the role of listener because there was no feedback from the teacher. The teacher was just in the role of presenter the whole hour. So worldwide, we can see that 33% worldwide, it means the Europe, because our research is in the context of the Europe. So 33% European countries was without access to the internet. Yeah, children had lack of the motivation to learn. Also, they are a big concern about long-term knowledge. They have said that the marks are better than in the classroom. 80% of them also have said that those information gotten online, they didn't understand those material because they didn't got the explanation from the teacher. And almost 30% of them also didn't ask for help to those teachers who gave them the material. Almost 50% of them also has said that school didn't give them the support they need. So most of the children sensitivity has increased, and the children, as we see, lost their self-confidence, and on the one hand, they liked e-learning because they had more free time. They could spend time with family members. They could do things they are good at. But on the other hand, they wanted to go back to the classroom. So here we can see also the graph that's shown that 30% of European countries there was with no ability of technology, 70% without motivation, 30% of children without e-learning classes, 80% children had said that e-learning was unsuccessful, 50 of them said that didn't got teachers' feedback, and more than 60 of them didn't get family support. So the conclusions, most of them have said that there are the big gaps in their knowledge children reviewed. Children wanted to go back to the normal teaching practice. So they also have said that there were no formative comparison. The teacher has had just the same practice for all of them, for the one that understand everything and for those who don't. So yeah, we can see that 50 of educators define e-learning from the prism of lower quality also, not just the children, and also those written instructions that teachers have given to the children with a little bit combined video conferencing was not enough. And children has also said that during lessons, 80% of them use the internet for social activities. So if you got from the teacher just on the email, you have to do this and this, and at that time I'm going to have 10 minutes of the class. Yeah, the other time children were online, they didn't do lots of for school. So here is the big gap also of the knowledge, the quality of knowledge. And also 80% of primary and secondary school in Slovenia were not connected to internet. And also those educators weren't prepared enough with technology for COVID situation and e-learning. Here are the children future things. They have said that it could be better if educators could prepare the lessons like gamification. So game into practice. So to make a lesson like learning process, besides just emails, to make video storytelling, and also micro learning and personalization. And they also have said that the children, the teacher has to make the review. Okay, we are here now, not what the number of lesson the next one is going to be. And also children has suggest that the lessons can combine. For example, math and physics can be at the same time, not separately on the schedule. We have said before that there was not enough desktops, internet for everyone. Children had to be on their mobile phones. Children also have said that, okay, we have an idea. The educator can make a test where we ended at last lesson, that from there on we can go on from that step from children's side, not that from those steps from the educators. They also have said, okay, the pre-tests can be used, and the teachers could know where they are and what is the best for those children. Children also have said that there was no creativity in the lessons. Just you have to do this and this, and when it's done, okay, you have done. But no one has seen, okay, how did you do it? This work, I don't know, in math, in other lessons. And also cloud-based learning. The teacher sent the emails to parents' mails. Children have said it would be better if we make a group, a cloud of the class, and everything is online for this class together. And you can go online many times that you want from everywhere and use it anytime. So after that, Europe has made a digital action plan from 2021 to 2027. They had two priorities. So to development of high-performing digital education ecosystem and to enhancing digital skills and competences for digital transformation. So let's see, here are 4 actions. I won't explain separately, so later on we can discuss. about the actions, what is important in each action. But yeah, we have to tell that EU, as the member of the countries, has seen, okay, we are here now, but we have to make it quickly, further steps, further plan to make it better for the future situation. So in this plan, they presented that they can be educational centers for teachers, for parents, for children, that e-learning has to be personalized. Also, they have said, okay, those text materials that children have said that it was not successful for them, okay, convert it to video content, to game programs, as has said children. Also, there are many diversities from school to schools. In primary schools where I work, our primary school, okay, children got all technical equipment, but we as educators were not prepared. Another school, the teachers were prepared, but they didn't get enough equipment also for the educators, not just for the children. And also this EU plan for 2021 and 27 has said that, okay, let's make the connectivity between EU members. This country is the best in this situation, this country in this, so share all the experience to make it better in the future. And in this plan also, they would like to make trainers and learners by end of 2022. So we are now in October. I don't know. I haven't read or I haven't heard about this that is already done for all Western countries. Europe, Western countries, also our country, Slovenia, is part of them. In this plan also has said that, yeah, we have to empower educators, parents and learners with online safety, with cyber hygiene, with media literacy, and to teach them how to use technology also confidently and responsibly. Also, they have said that we have to research, we have to go into the citizens to make the researches, what are their opinions, and to make e-learning from their perspective. So also young Europeans are on the lower, are the lowest on the bottom, as you have seen before in the graph, and they need to learn underlearning structures, basic algorithms, and to achieve, to develop ITC skills. So the Europe, especially Slovenia, needs digital revolution.
Thank you so much. These are very powerful ideas that have been coming out so far. Our last speaker is Dr. Melinda Pearson. She is the chair of the Department of Special Education and the director of International Partnerships in Education at Cal State Fullerton. She's published over 100 articles, book chapters, and grants on best practices in special education with the focus on international teacher training, inclusion for all countries, and effective characteristics to support struggling learners. She has led 12 study abroad trips with more than 125 participant pre-service teachers to Haiti and Germany, where the focus is on inclusive schools. So I will hand it over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit about a project in Haiti. I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview on education in Haiti. And if you've been watching the news, there's been a lot of new difficulties in Haiti. And so what I'm presenting to you, it's gotten much, much worse in just the past couple of weeks and months. I think the UN will probably be going back in. So I have gone to Haiti for about the past 10 years, working in some different schools there, putting on teachers' conferences and taking students there. So I've done 6 different trips with students and just doing some professional development with the teachers at the schools. And then my students, who are all in the teacher credentialing program or master's program, then they take over the classrooms and work with the kids, and they practice their skills with the students in the schools while I work with the teachers. So it kind of supports the Cal State Fullerton students as well as supporting the teachers that are in Haiti. So the school system there is really difficult. There are different tiers of schools. So it depends on the amount of money you have if you're able to go to school. And it's really difficult for kids to go to school there. So most of the schools are private, so they cost money. There just aren't enough schools for all the children that need to be in schools. And the literacy rate is pretty low there. They only have about 20% of secondary aged kids in schools. And an issue of the schools are that the language is French, but the schools, that the kids know Creole. So they go to school in a totally different language than what they know. So it's really difficult if they haven't had the basic French training from when they're young to be able to join school. Let's say if the family were to get enough money in that situation. So only about 10% of the budget is spent on schools. And it may not even be that at this moment because of all the political unrest that's going on there. But overall, there's no oversight on the school effectiveness. Lots of schools just don't have toilets. And so that also makes it difficult. Parents don't send their kids to school because they need them at home or they need them working. So a lot of rural kids don't go to school because it's just too far away. So there's typically a 30% dropout in the first 3 years of schooling. And there is really no oversight on the effectiveness of the schools. So 3/4 of the schools have no license or approval from the government to even be running. There is not running water at the schools a lot of times, which is typical throughout the country. 80% of the teachers have never gone to a teacher's college or had professional training in how to be a teacher. 25% of the teachers didn't attend secondary school, and a lot of them go without being paid at different points. So that's, of course, a very big barrier. You can switch the slide. I only did a few slides. I thought I would talk you through kind of what we're doing. So the barriers are that some of the schools will only admit kids if they can already read and write. And tuition has continued to increase. Meanwhile, they don't have jobs. Unemployment has increased. So it's really, really difficult to get kids into schools. Only about 1% of the kids actually go on to university. So it's a very small number of people. And students with disabilities typically don't attend school at all. So that's one of the things I've been doing in the project, is to have some inclusion projects where the kids who are at the orphanage schools are still able to participate in school with all of the other kids. So that's one of the things I do with the teacher training. And so I work with some different orphanage schools. And I also now, because of the political unrest, I have been doing monthly Zoom professional development with the teachers at these different schools. And so some of the things that we focused on are literacy. So we review and adapt all the literacy curriculum, and we do literacy throughout all of the different subject areas. Behavior is a big deal. It sounds like that's a big deal all around the world. It's always an issue for teachers, even here, as you guys know. So dealing with aggression, helping them with social skills, and then just citizenship skills overall, how to contribute to the world and how to learn how to just be that positive citizen and make a difference in their world. And then developing a positive classroom environment. So supporting the teachers on the encouragement of kids, making that classroom a place where kids want to be, making sure kids are included so they have that safety and that support. And then I do a lot of training on active engagement. So we're not just doing workbooks. Of course, right now it sounds like the ports are being controlled by gangs. They aren't able to get fuel or potable water. Cholera is increasing dramatically. The issues going on in Haiti right now are really, really massive. And so they really don't have school supplies at the moment. Normally when we go, I bring like 22 suitcases. I mean, it's insane, bringing a lot of school supplies so that the teachers have access to that with curriculum. So right now it's just a really difficult scenario. So I've put on several teachers conferences there in the area of Port-au-Prince, and I have been able to have almost 100 people at each conference. We feed them lunch, and I actually pay for it. This isn't something that's easy for them to pay for. So I bring supplies, some really easy supplies, so that they're able to take away some really low tech things with them for teacher resources. And in Haiti, it's really important that they get a certificate. They love having evidence that they completed a training. And so I list on the certificate like what the conference was or what we went through. And I involve my students in the sense that we do small groups. So we'll have, a presentation, and then we'll have discussion groups, and how can they apply that to their actual classrooms, the ages that they're teaching. And so my students with a translator are able to work with a small group of students. So it's really building that reciprocity in learning of working with teachers. So they're kind of all in the same boat. They're all learning together, and they're able to really work together and figure out how they can implement some different strategies in the classroom. And some of the logistics of planning a conference in a developing country are that we have to have a generator to be able to have the microphones to be used. I need to be able to have a whiteboard or a chalkboard. Post-it notes are something that's new for them. They've never really had Post-it notes. So we bring things like Post-it notes and like the screen protector, the sheet protectors with pens, markers that they can wipe off, so that students can have whiteboards, but really, really low-tech whiteboards that can be reused in classrooms. So some future plans and goals is I'm doing now virtual study abroad because of the political unrest in Haiti. So my teachers are still able to be involved. They're able to ask questions of the teachers. I have to be honest in that I have them give me the questions first, because I need these questions to be really sensitive to their cultural situation. And so our teachers have a really hard time from the US understanding why they're not able to, have supplies, and they want to send them supplies, but with the ports being controlled by the gangs, we can't do that. So I have the teachers send me questions. I compile the questions. The teachers are all in a group on a Zoom and able to answer questions. They give my students a tour of their schools. And the orphanage schools, of course, they push the beds back and the classrooms are right there in the bedrooms. And that's really shocking for our teachers in the US to experience that. We take them to the kitchen so that they can see that it's, basically an outdoor area where we have some people cooking food for the kids, and they're able to see what a school looks like in a developing country. And it's very, very interesting for our teachers. The teachers and the students love to show their space, and they're really proud of it. And it's really a great experience for our Cal State Fullerton students to be a part of. So I'm doing just virtual study abroad now in Haiti with the students, but it started because of the pandemic, and then it's going to continue because of the political unrest. So I'll be happy to answer some questions as we flow along. And I think a little bit later, we'll have some opportunities for that.
Thank you so much. So we're now going to go into our breakout groups, and then for about 20 minutes, we have different facilitators, and you all should have gotten an email from me with a link to the slide deck so you can take notes. And I just want to say, I want to work with each one of you. I loved hearing about the reciprocity of really learning from our learners, our students, and also learning from each other as teachers, and the need for, that listening, but also that teacher training. So I think we'll have some really good discussions. The focus is really on, what are we doing for students? What are we doing for teachers? And this is an opportunity for all of us to be able to kind of ask questions to our presenters and then also share some of the amazing work that we're doing within each one of our contexts. So I'm going to open up the rooms now. If my facilitators have any questions, I will pop into each room to make sure everybody's
Good conversation.
I know. And this is like the worst part of what I have to do, which is bring everybody back when you're finally able to like come together and talk. And so, we have thought about making these 2-hour events. And maybe that's something we need to look at in the future. But I just want to thank you all for going through and engaging and sharing. One of the things that we ask all of our panelists to do when we hold these events is create a resource list. So I'm putting that in the chat right now. So you will have different resources that they mentioned in their presentations. You can go and take a look at some of those. And it really is a fantastic way to kind of keep this going. Another thing I'm going to mention before we go back into hold on one second, let me get there. Before we have our share out is that we also have briefs. And so I'll be sharing the links and so where you can find the briefs on our website, which is looking beautiful. So why don't we start out with our first group? And we also have our slide deck, which I can share. Let me see if I can share that. And who would like to present out for your group? With Dr. Pearson.
I don't mind giving a start there, if that's okay.
Great.
Okay. She kind of gave us a very comprehensive overview of her work in Haiti. I think her some of the tragedies that she described are beyond our belief, really, and I think she emphasized that. She talked about, hazards of going there to do good work with taking her students and obviously making sure liability, as she said, she's responsible for them. So that is certainly a big responsibility, make sure that they're going to come back safe and sound. Also, she talked about the teachers, she said, are just phenomenal in terms of their dedication and doing the best they can with very little and maximizing the outcome for students. Also said that the teachers really love the kids. So they don't just teach the kids, they teach them with love. And the kids, for them, the teachers become like their parents, basically, or doing the parents for them. And some of the things that she explained right now, of course, Haiti is in a terrible upheaval, and she has had to halt on that. Finally, she talked about her monthly in-service virtually that she's been doing last COVID, of course. And she talked about how the teachers, first of all, look forward to it. But the point that I got about it was she sends out a kind of a pre-questionnaire or information request to say, what would you like to learn? What do you need to learn? So it kind of creates a pathway for her creating her teaching, her professional development, because it's coming from the voice of the people who she wants to interact with her knowledge and with her strategy. So I found it very kind of like reverberating, I guess. It kind of woke me up when you think about it, because she described it very, very heartfelt. So that's what I got from Dr. Pearson.
I love the fact that we use the word love, because I think that that's also what I'm seeing in this room. And as I popped into the different rooms, breakout groups, is that theme of how much we love, and that teaching and education is our form of love. So thank you. All right, someone from group 2, would you like to share out some of the main points that you were able to talk about?
I can go ahead and share some of our main points. So we had the privilege of sitting with Dr. Chitiyo and discussing some strategies for supporting learners and supporting teachers. And under supporting learners, we talked about the importance of providing screening and assessments, and how there's just been some challenges related to training in that area, providing those different resources, because in the context of challenging behaviors, we know that there's some underlying disabilities that may contribute to those challenging behaviors. So just the importance of that, and also using that information to collaborate between other professionals and family members as well. And then just the important piece of looking at technology access and availability, because we know that technology can provide a very feasible means of professional development and professional learning, but when we don't have those technology of readily available, that can form a barrier. So thinking kind of through that, how we can use technology and increase accessibility in that area. Under supporting teachers, we talked about training for functional behavior assessments, being able to identify what are these antecedents to these behaviors, how can we address these behaviors in a systematic way. And of course, again, going back to that collaboration piece between teachers and families and addressing the student to teacher ratio. There are many classrooms that they're just a very high amount of students per teachers, which can also contribute to some of the challenging behaviors. And then again, looking at technology and availability, that was something that really falls under both columns. And something that's been successful previously is international conferences and trainings have been an area that has been helpful in the past for providing teachers and some of the resources and training that they need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And group 3. Oh, who did I have in group 3? We'll do victims or volunteers. No, just joking. Anyone that would like to just maybe bring up a few points? All right, now I'm going to see who is in that group.
I don't mind sharing out for the group.
Thank you. Whoops.
You're welcome. There was a lot of really good discussion, honestly, with the group. A lot of what was shared was just this idea that the curriculum needs to be intentional and specifically get into digital skills, learning skills, especially for those countries that don't necessarily have it, to ensure that both the teachers and the students. And the other thing that was added was parents as well have access to these tools and resources so that they can better be prepared to kind of help one another, so to speak. There was a lot of discussion around aspects of personalized learning, in all honesty, through micro lessons, through pre-testing and tiering your students so that you can support them a little bit better, especially if they're kind of on different wavelengths, to be mindful of pacing and really make sure that mastery has been accessed. So a lot of the conversation was around the curriculum and also strategies that teachers probably need to have developed in them. And an interesting point was also around low-tech technology, especially for areas or countries or spaces where having all this access to technology is not necessarily something they can kind of, all these extra things they can work around, but at least if there's some low tech methods or skills or assistive technology available to be able to offer that. So those are some of the things that were talked about.
Thank you so much. So I'm now going to put the website in here, and I'm just going to give you, a little bit of a tour so that you can also see where to find the information. So we're really excited that we've now put under publications, we have information briefs. So you can actually see some of the information briefs that we have written around the different DISES virtual events. So these last two are the, and it's going to make me download it, but and then I can put it in there. That's fine. But you can actually see in, and I'll put the October one from the one that we just shared with you in October on the DISES highlighting inclusive practices around the world. So you can see that there's a link to our YouTube channel there where we have the recording from that event. We have a summary that is there. We're trying to make it more accessible with providing the written words so that someone can, if they don't have great YouTube access, then they can take a look at the read the summary of that event, and then also get the information, the resource list, and all of that in one place. So please continue to check out our website. Some events that we have coming up are India in 2023. We're really excited about that. And of course, the CEC convention. in 2022, which will be coming through. Oh, you can also read Sasha's summary of the UNESCO report, REDS report. So please take a look at those. We do ask that you help us out by answering a few questions, because this will help guide the type of events that we hold and the topics that we choose for next year as we start preparing for our, and I'll put the link to this survey into the chat right now. But if you could let us know what you thought of this event. Let us know any topics that you'd like to know more about, or if you want to do a deeper dive in something that came up for you here. And this is just really, it helps guide us and remind us, what it is that you all want, because just like we talked about the importance of knowing what our students want, it's really important that we also keep track of what you all are doing so that we're able to serve you best. We also recommend that you share this information about these types of events with people. We're really trying to grow our community. And so, if you noticed, this event was free for DISES members, and we hope that you all will become DISES members if you're not yet. That you'll encourage others to join DISES. But we did make it free for international members. And that was very intentional, because we want this information to get out there. We want all of us to be able to get into the rooms together. And so, please, continue to share this information and about, everyone can access the website. They can go to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media to be kept abreast of all of the great work that we're doing. Right now, one of the projects, actually, Clara, would you talk about the CEC Guam project that's underway, if you wouldn't mind? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I'm happy to. Mary actually has really been involved. So Mary, if you'd rather share what we're doing with Guam, I'm happy to toss that back to you. We're very excited.
Well, yes, I'll just say a few words. As was mentioned, we have a project going, and as I was, listening to everybody and all these awesome presentations, I thought of the potential to reach out to other places. As Clara mentioned, and Rebekka, we have a partnership going with the CEC and the state directors of special education to bring some professional learning around high leverage practices to some of the U.S. territories, starting with Guam. And so we have a series of professional learning series of 4 different sessions that include high leverage practices around collaboration, assessment, social, emotional, behavioral issues, and also instruction, of course. And as many of you know, there are 22 high leverage practices. And so just thinking about the potential to share some of this information with the individuals from other countries, whether it's Haiti, Slovenia, wherever you're doing your work, we could narrow it down. We could package it in a way in the future that may be very helpful in terms of teacher training. The theme of teacher training seemed to have run across all of the presentations, and there's such a need out there that perhaps we can make some of this available virtually. But we're beginning that. We're finishing the recordings this week, and we hope to be able to make it available after that, after we work with Guam in the future. So stay tuned for some of that and be thinking about some of that potential and working with us on that type of a project as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Rebekka. And I'm going to put a plug in. Yes, if you're interested in helping and supporting with international projects like this in teacher training, I think this is one of our main goals at DISES, is to be the leader, to be out there, to make sure that our teachers have what they need internationally. So we're very excited to get started, and thank goodness for some technology too. And of course, the in-person activities are always incredibly interesting to hear about what everybody's doing.
All right, so we've got two more things I'm going to ask you to do. One is if everyone who wants to be on camera, we like to put things on social media. So if you wouldn't mind giving a big smile so you get the look that you're going for today. So I'll just do 1, 2, 3. All right, that's going to be fantastic. The other thing is we had such wonderful panelists. And so maybe if in the chat, if we could just put a little like something that with the last minute, something that stuck out to you that the panelists said, or your appreciation, just kind of going back to that idea of love. Let's just end on a loving note of sharing some of the love and appreciation that we have in this room this morning. So if you wouldn't mind just writing something in the chat about this event and what you appreciated. So we've got thank you for all who appreciate or participating. I hope you to see you in future events. Love the interaction and incredible work that each of you are doing in the field. Thank you to the panelists. Enjoy hearing about the great work around the globe. Thank you very much. And yes, and it's continuing to go. So excellent presentations, extremely informative. Yeah, thank you to the panelists for their expertise. Excellent work, panelists. We need the help where we can get it. Thank you to the panelists and organizers. And thank you for the presenters. Please pray for peace. But thank you all so incredibly much. My heart is full. I was kind of rushing around this morning, and at the end of each of these, I remember, this is why I do the work that I do, is so that I can be in rooms with people like you. So thank you.